Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here, and you are very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, grab a pew, chair or whatever, sit your booties down and welcome to Monday's edition of the DCEU Daily, the only DCEU video you'll see each day that isn't scripted. And on today's edition of the DCEU Daily, together we're going to watch another DCEU video. Today, it's a Marvel shill, it's an MCU shill comparing Man of Steel with Winter Soldier. How perfect Captain America is reflected in this film and how badly Superman's reflected in Man of Steel. Of course, I don't agree with this, but before we proceed, let me be clear to you. Captain America, the Winter Soldier, right, is the best film in the MCU. It's the only film worth watching. In fact, this is what got the Russo brothers a seat at the table. But this film shows that the Russos are probably more suited to actually write and direct a Superman movie rather than an MCU movie. And they've already said they're not discounting doing a DCEU movie. So maybe some big news in the future about maybe them writing and directing a Superman film. Personally, I would be very excited about this. Some of you would, some of you wouldn't. So should we watch this video, and I'll be stopping it in intervals and talking about and sitting this person down. I don't know what channel this is. You'll see what channel it is as soon as I press play. So if you want to check them out, be my guest.
Hey, remember that superhero movie where a traditional American character gets put into a modern-day world and is faced with the challenge of being accepted by our society and a post-9/11 government? Yeah, me too. Both Man of Steel and Winter Soldier reinvent something, but there's a reason why Winter Soldier works and Man of Steel does not. Man of Steel chooses to change Superman, introduce a new, darker hero for post-Nolan America. Winter Soldier doesn't change him.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Superman is still pure-hearted. He's still optimistic. He's still all of those things. He's just injected in the real world, as Captain America is in the Winter Soldier. We carry on.
Captain America, in fact, it makes a point of keeping him the same. Man of Steel changes the Man of Steel, but Captain America, the Winter Soldier, changes.
No. Superman is still Superman in Man of Steel. He just happens to wear a darker suit. Sometimes he screams, sometimes he growls, but sometimes he even smiles and tells a couple of jokes. Yes, obviously, my friend. Have you even watched Man of Steel?
America. David Goyer and Zack Snyder were given the opportunity to reinvent Superman.
Whether or not I'd ever want to take a crack at Superman, I said no.
But Superman doesn't need reinvented. He's fucking Superman. He's caring, charming. Fuck this. I shouldn't have to explain how Superman should be to you. I don't need to talk down to you. He believes in truth, justice, and all that jazz. His focus is never on the greater good. It is on the individual. Superman doesn't need to be edgy. He doesn't need to be angry. He doesn't need changing.
Superman doesn't need to be edgy. He doesn't need to be angry. Basically, what Snyder, Nolan, and Goyer did was give Superman a personality. Gave him emotions. There's nothing wrong with that. And it doesn't take away who or what Superman is.
The comic book fan, you know I didn't change Superman. If you know the true canon, you know that I didn't change Superman.
Pop quiz time. What's Superman's weakness? I want you to go down in the comments right now and type it. Okay, you have like 4 seconds. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, got it? I promise I'll read every single comment. I'm curious as to how many of you guessed it. It's not kryptonite. It's life. His weakness is human life. Why do you think Lois Lane or Jimmy Olsen are always put in danger? Because that's what can stop Superman. Human life is what drives Superman to do what he does. Superman is never about stopping the bad guy. He's about protecting the little guy. That is what he was created to do.
Superman in Man of Steel doesn't care about the little guy then. What about the guy falling off the chopper in the Battle of Smallville? Why doesn't he just let him fall to his death if he's not about saving the little guy? You are wrong. You are biased towards the MCU, and all you're trying to do is belittle this film to big up Captain America the Winter Soldier, which I've already said I love, and I will not be doing down one thing to bigging up another, as this guy clearly is.
What he was created to stand for. That's what Man of Steel fails to understand. That's what Man of Steel changed about Superman. Clark Kent is not a Man of Steel, but a man who cares, a man who will stop at nothing to protect what he loves.
Have you ever read a comic book? What is Superman's nickname? Man of Steel. He is a man of steel. But in Man of Steel, he has varied emotions. That was a point of making the character relatable. And he is relatable. Henry's Superman is relatable to a great number of people. Now, at the end of the day, it's all very well having constructive criticism. Everyone has a right to do that. But don't give a fiction. Don't make commentary on something when it isn't true.
People, you, me, us. Superman protects us. And that's what Snyder and company just didn't get.
Superman doesn't protect us in Man of Steel. Really? Maybe you should go back and rewatch the movie, if you can bear it.
Winter Soldier does the exact opposite. It doesn't change anything about Captain America. He's still the stern and lovable Steve Rogers. What changes is the environment that Cap is faced with. The conflict comes from how classic Captain America views this new post-9/11 America. How he views the Patriot Act, how he views our society that often prioritizes our safety over our privacy. A lot of the internal conflict of the Winter Soldier comes from Steve being a man out of time. Similar to Man of Steel, both Clark Kent and Steve Rogers are alienated. Steve spends his free time visiting the Smithsonian because it's the closest he can get to his previous life, to his friends. He constantly visits Peggy, which not only goes to show the audience just how caring Steve is, but also demonstrates that she is his last lifeline. We don't know what Clark likes to do. We know he spends his entire life searching for answers, but what on the earth makes him feel human? Peggy's Steve's last living tie to the world before...
Again, he's telling lies to forward his point. What does Clark like to do in Man of Steel? He visits his elderly mother in Smallville. They have conversations. She's the first person he goes to when he finds his biological parents. And he sits down, and when she's worried she's going to lose him, he puts his arm around her and smiles and says, I'm not going anywhere. It's a beautiful, warm conversation. As I say, this is a beautifully put together video, but his views against Man of Steel are fictional. He's making it up as he goes along. I'm enjoying ripping his video to shreds.
The ice. That is until the Winter Soldier is revealed to be Bucky, which on a story level works so well. In Man of Steel, Zod is Clark's last piece of his homeworld, Krypton. It is essentially the last tie he has to Jor-El, not Windows 10 Jor-El, but, the living man. Bucky is Steve's last piece of his home, 1940s Brooklyn. In the third act, both characters are faced with a choice: stop the antagonists and sever all ties with the past, or try to save them, redeem them, get through to them. But as the man Sam points out,
whoever he used to be, the guy he is now, I don't think he's the kind you save. He's the kind you stop. I don't know if I can do that. He might not give you a choice. He doesn't know you.
He will. Steve chooses to reach out to Bucky. He would rather... than be in a world where Bucky was only the Winter Soldier. He'd rather die for his friend than let him stay this monster that the government made him. Clark never tries to reach Zod. He tells him things like,
Krypton lives again. What happens to Earth? No. God.
This is really funny, right? He's just proved my point in the clip that he's just shown. Let me tell you why. He's just said that Clark's selfish. Now, the first thing he says to Zod when Zod reveals his plan about repopulating Earth with Kryptonians, what will happen to Earth? His first fault is about humanity. Not Kryptonians, humanity, because he's grown up with humans. The Earth is his home. It's all he knows. He wants to save it. He's willing to fight a person from his own planet to save the planet Earth. B, this comparison is so terrible. Shall I tell you why? because he's comparing Man of Steel, a Superman origin movie, to a Captain America sequel. Pal, your argument is falling down the more I watch it.
Can't be a part of it.
No! Rick, you betrayed my mother! Rip Don had his chance!
You're a monster, Zod. And I'm gonna stop you.
Don't do this! Stop! No!
Clark doesn't try. He never tries to reach Zod. Why do you think people have so many issues with Clark killing Zod after tens of thousands?
He doesn't try and reach Zod. He knows that Zod is unreachable. It's pretty obvious to everyone that Zod is undeterred in his action. He wants to save his race. He wants to repopulate Earth with Kryptonians, right? With all the clone feeds that are inside Cal, right? That's his plan. Doesn't matter what Superman says, that's not going to change. It's like humanity trying to search for a planet for humanity to live on when Earth is destroyed, when we destroy it. This is the commentary here. It's a beautiful commentary. Yes, Steve is trying to save his friend. He's not willing to kill his friend. Hey, Zod is not Cal's friend. He didn't know Zod. Zod is a threat. He's threatening humanity. Clark has to fight him. That's all he can do. And honestly, right, again, his mute comparison saying that Steve chooses not to kill Bucky. No, but at the time, Bucky hasn't got heat vision on two human beings and children, right? It's a different situation. It's an uncomparable situation. It's unfair to compare it. It's unfair to Man of Steel.
Thousands of people have died. Because in a good superhero movie, hell, in any good movie, the resolution of the conflict should never come down to a fist fight. Even if it's a fucking Dragon Ball Z fight. It should come down to a battle of ideologies. And then some...
This is the kind of Nazi imperialistic opinion that I cannot stand. A superhero film shouldn't finish with a fight. Who are you to say a superhero film shouldn't finish with a fight? This is why these deadheads don't like the third act of Wonder Woman. Epic fights are awesome. That's the best way to resolve it. Who doesn't want to see an epic superhero battle? Sometimes you can't sit there with your enemy and say, hey, let's break bread and sort this out like good, decent people. Guess what? Zod was once a hero of Krypton. Let's be clear here. Zod isn't a villain. Zod was once Superman on Krypton. Him and Jor-El were best pals, and they were always trying to find a great peaceful solution. And Zod protected Krypton for years. Anyone who doesn't know Zod, this is the problem with this comparison. It doesn't work, right? So comparing these two films basically doesn't work.
Sort of compromise. The best superhero films end their climaxes with a conversation. Spider-Man 2, The Dark Knight, Unbreakable, Civil War, First Class, Winter Soldier. That doesn't mean there can't be punching and kicking and all that stuff we like. That just means the actual conflict, when boiled down to it, is differing ideologies. What's Clark's ideology in Man of Steel? He only seems to value human life when the plot needs him to. He doesn't have any personal connection to any Earth other than Lois and his mother. Why does he care about stopping Zod?
Other than Lois and his mother, his adopted mother, who he's known all his freaking life. But apart from that, he's got no connections on Earth. Do you know why, pal? Because it's an origin story. He's just begun his journey. He hasn't made any friends. And in fact, if you want to take it further, he's got Lana and Pete in Smallville. We see Pete a couple of times as well. Now, he doesn't go over to them and break bread with them. It isn't that type of film. It's a very fast-paced, exciting, action-packed film. It is not Captain America the Winter Soldier, because that's a sequel and this is an origin. But he's only got Lois and Martha. That's two very important, iconic characters in the history of Superman, right? But apparently you know all about Superman. Obviously not.
Why is Zod's death earned? The answer is it isn't. It relies solely on shock value. Personally, I feel nothing during the next snap. Clark just lost his last tie to his home, to his birth parents. He's truly and utterly an alien. And what sucks is I don't care. And I should. I should give a damn about Superman.
You don't care. You don't care, mate. But millions of people around the world fighting for the Snyder Cut right now care about Henry's Superman. Henry's Superman, Zack's and David S. Goyer and Christopher Nolan's and Chris Terrio's Superman. Many of us do care about this version of Superman, and we're punching Zod alongside him in Man of Steel. I respect your opinion, but that's from your point of view, not mine, and the millions of people around the world who love the DCEU and love what Snyder, Nolan, Terrio and Goyer did.
Read his books my entire life, but this isn't the Superman I read about. This isn't Smallville's Superman or Bruce Timm's Superman. This isn't my Superman. My Superman would do everything in his power not to kill Zod. This Superman barely speaks. Zack Snyder crafted this.
This Superman barely speaks. Maybe he's too freaking busy trying to figure himself out and his life out and trying to save Earth and humanity. That's what a Superman character should be doing. I love Smallville. I love Bruce Timm's Superman. But just because they're awesome, it doesn't mean that the DCEU should have exactly the same Superman. He's not my Superman. Well, he's my Superman, but guess what? Bruce Timm's Superman's my Superman. Tom Welling's Smallville Superman is my Superman. Christopher Reeve's Superman is my Superman. They're all my Superman, but you know why I respect every single freaking version? Because they're all unique, complex, and different. Something, my friend, you can't understand.
Superman I don't recognize. To me, he's changed Superman.
If you know the true canon,
You're a monster.
if you're a comic book fan, you know I didn't change Superman.
I'm gonna stop you.
The struggle of the Winter Soldier is how our protagonist deals with change. America changed a lot in 70 years, but Steve remained frozen, unable to change, unable to grow with the times. He is very much still the classic.
Steve is frozen, Clark Kent isn't. He lives and grows up in modern day America. It's a different story. It's uncomparable.
Captain America. This film brings that idea to the forefront. Should Captain America change with America? That's a better way to approach a reinvention. If you change an iconic character, if you make Batman kill, if you make Superman reckless, then you're misunderstanding what makes these characters successful. Marvel understands what makes a hero a hero.
Marvel understand what makes a hero a hero. You absolute tosser. You are biased. You are as biased to the MCU as I'm biased to the DCEU. And hey, that's absolutely fine. But what you are saying in your Nazi imperialistic way is, yes, everything should be like the MCU. If you're not like the MCU, you are wrong. Hey, Hitler. This is the problem. That's what these people are like, right? This is what these people are like. And this is why I can't bear their opinions. I respect them for having different opinions, but they're literally saying, if it isn't like the MCU, it's rubbish and it doesn't work. Marvel know how to do heroes. Excuse me? Iron Man 3, 4, 2. May I go on? Look at the way they messed up Spider-Man. Yeah, they casted a young kid to play Spider-Man, and Tom's awesome in the role. But the actual film is an underwhelming, generic cesspool. How can you have a Spider-Man movie without an age-accurate Aunt May? How can you have a Spider-Man movie without Jameson, right? Or however you pronounce his name, right? Or the Daily Bugle, right? But you're going to step all over that and say, hey, that's the best Spidey movie ever. No. Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 by Sam Raimi are the best Spider-Man films ever. We continue.
And the basic fundamentals of an icon like Captain America should never be changed. They can, of course, adapt and grow, but it all has to be within character. Otherwise, you end up with a franchise that, frankly, no one cares about. Marvel works because
no one cares about the DCEU. Nobody cares about the DCEU. Really? Really? Is that why we're all fighting for the Snyder Cut? Is that why Superman, Man of Steel made over 600 million globally? Is that why Batman v Superman made over 800 million globally The same with Suicide Squad. The same with Wonder Woman. Even Justice League made 650. Aquaman made $1 billion. And Shazam this weekend has doubled its budget. But nobody cares about these movies, apparently.
You recognize the characters. Iron Man will always be Iron Man. Hulk will always be Hulk. What changes is not the icon, but the times in which the icon is depicted. Captain America will never change. But America, well, America changes every day. So down below we have a link to our Patreon, which you guys can...
I have no intention, son, of paying up to your Patreon. You do a great job in your videos. Well done. I respect you. I'll be subscribing to your channel. But that video is absolute pants. And I hope you saw me deconstruct all his arguments, because all his arguments have very little validity. Man of Steel is a darker toned in colour film. Agreed. There is more action. That's what was demanded after Superman Returns. People didn't like Superman Returns because it didn't have enough action. So Warner Brothers brought in someone to bring in the chaos. And it happened. People like Man of Steel. People care about the DCEU. It may be a much divisive, maligned movie that not everyone likes, but I tell you what, millions of people around the world love the DCEU, love Zack Snyder, and we are fighting for the Snyder Cut. Today's a big day, people. Today's the day you all record your videos. For 30-second videos, tell Warner Brothers UK, Warner Brothers Entertainment, everything Warner Brothers, at them, either on Instagram or Twitter, and basically do your 30-second video saying why you want them to release the Snyder Cut. It's a big day, and I think there is actually, I'm going to find some information for you about this before I sign off for the day, so we get this done properly. So this is the Twitter account you need to add if you're serious about fighting for the Snyder Cut. And I know you are if you're watching me. Right. It's called @RT Snyder Cut. And it's got, I'm not sure what the picture is. So it's actually, its top picture is Come TSC. Come Together basically it's called. But yeah, you need to follow @RT Snyder Cut. And what they're doing today, and this is what they said to me when I told them, because I've already recorded my 30-second video. So this is what they said to me. Hopefully you will upload a copy to the Drive link that we will provide tomorrow too. We will be making a big compilation of video of everyone's clips. So very important to follow RT Snyder Cut, @RT Snyder Cut. So I hope you've got that. Record your videos. As I said before, it doesn't matter if you're not confident. It doesn't matter if you look like crap. Look at me, I do videos every day. I look like a freaking clown. Just speak with your hearts. Do your videos. Follow the Twitter account I just told you about. And we are going to show Warner Brothers we're serious about this. But of course, we already have shown Warner Brothers we're serious about this. So when they finally announce their CEO, things can get moving. We can get to see this movie finally, and I can't wait, because that is what Zack Snyder deserves and what us, the fans, deserve. So prove this chap wrong, that he's wrong. So many millions of people care about the DCEU and Man of Steel and Batman v Superman and all the films. This is a great franchise. Prove this person wrong.